Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. So, been a little bit of an absence since the last video, which we did on Monday. I'll talk you through everything that's happened over the past couple of days in terms of the internet connection and phone line and all of the different problems we've been going through. But we are back up and running now, so the videos have returned. And because it got quite late, I'm not going to be able to bring you a 5-day forecast. I had to shelve that. Of course, yesterday's look at the ECMWF 30-day ensemble, that's also gone out the window. That will be back next Tuesday. So it's been all a little bit disruptive, but your updates will commence as usual from now on, hopefully. So this is going to be a week 10-day video update. We'll also include the Beijing Climate Centre next 40 days. In this one as well. And then this evening, we'll bring you an update focusing on the bank holiday weekend. Very late with these bank holiday updates now. We did the first one over the weekend. There should have been another one on Monday evening, but of course I was offline then, so I couldn't bring you that. So the second bank holiday weekend update will be with you this evening. That means no 5-day forecast, unfortunately, today. So, just after I got Monday's video uploaded, I got our phone line was severed by a lorry that decided it was going to come down our narrow road near the house and got stuck, and then had to reverse back up and severed the phone line. Now, I believe the name of this lorry that's caused all of this disruption was Speed Shift or Speedy Shift. So they are responsible for cutting off our phone line, allegedly. So a few people that have said that's the name of the lorry. So obviously the driver of that Speed Shift or Speedy Shift lorry wins Numpty of the Year award for trying to get it down a narrow road and then having to reverse back up, getting caught up in the phone wires and severing the wire. So, anyway, that happened on Monday, and since then been waiting to get the telephone line re-established. It's just come back up and running, so thank you to British Telecom and also to Overreach for getting that sorted out, and we are now able to bring you the video updates once again. So we're going to start off and say by having a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days, but I'm just going to give a shout out to the latest donor for Gazwevids. So now I've got to try and pronounce this name correctly. Soterios Lakis. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Soterios Lakis has become the latest donor for Gazwevids. So a big thank you to Soterios for becoming Gazwevids latest donor. If I've not pronounced that correctly, then I'm terribly sorry for not getting that pronunciation right. But a big thank you to Soterios for becoming Gazwevids' latest donor. If you would like to become a donor for Gazwevids and help to pay for the videos when we're able to bring you them, and also pay for the website, then you can do it through the Gazwevids PayPal page. So this is the Gazwevids.com PayPal page. The link to this is in the description box of YouTube. We link to all the pages at Gazwevids. So you've got a PayPal account. Very straightforward, very simple. You just come here and you can donate any one-off payment that you would like to donate to Gazwevids. And a big thank you to Soterios and to also all of the donors for Gazwevids. You'll get a shout out in the videos, as Soterios has done, and a thank you if you want one. Some people have chosen to remain anonymous. That's fine. We'll just say thank you to this anonymous donor or something like that. Just leave a little note with your donation to tell us that you'd rather stay anonymous. That's absolutely fine if you want to do that. Alternatively, of course, there's the Patreon page. So if you would like to become a patron for Gazwevids, then this is it. This is the Gazwevids Patreon page. So this will be an ongoing monthly donation, although of course you can cancel it at any time. But the idea behind this is that it's like a monthly donation. You just sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can pledge any ongoing monthly donation that you would like. Could be anything from $1 a month. It doesn't have to be a large amount of money at all. And again, that's helping to fund the videos, helping to keep all of the content completely free of charge, so you won't have to worry about paywalls, anything like that. The content will stay absolutely free as you want it. It won't be going pay-per-view or anything like that. Just ask you if you can afford to become a patron or a donor for Gabs with Its Ben, please do that. And a big thank you to all of the donors and all of the patrons for Gabs with Its. And when we've got a working phone line and internet connection, we will bring you the videos when we can. And a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Right, so let's bring you up to date with everything that's been going on in my absence. So we start off with the Central England temperature. This is the very latest from Hadley. So it's provisional now up to the 14th, up to yesterday. We're currently standing at 18.0, an anomaly of 2 degrees above average. So still a hot month, still a hot August, but this has come down significantly compared to week 1 when we was at one point around 19.9. So it's come down around 2 degrees in a little over a week. So it has been quite a substantial drop, actually. But, of course, it's dropped from a very, very high level. So we still can say at the moment that this has been a hot August. But it probably will be dropping some more very gradually over the next week or two. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF on the top and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure, are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure and blue to low pressure. Now the ECMWF has this big area of above average heights in the 7 to 10 day time frame, which will take us to around the 25th of August, so around to the bank holiday weekend, has this big area of above average height centred over the top of the country, which means that we're actually bringing up quite hot air again from the south or southeast with the ECMWF solution. However, look what the GFS is doing. That's very different. It's got below average heights up to the north. It's pulled out that ridge into the centre of the Atlantic and also pushed it over towards eastern parts of Europe and bringing the jet stream down too. So that's a much cooler scenario as we go into the 7 to 10 day time frame. That is actually quite cool air. That's bringing the air out of Greenland into the UK. So that would be really quite a chilly run up to the bank holiday weekend, to say the least. So quite big differences actually in the 7 to 10 day time frame today between the ECMWF and the GFS. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts for the next week, 10 days. We're just looking at Birmingham very quickly today. I didn't have a lot of time to go through different locations. I think this is what we was looking at when we did Monday's video. So the upper air temperatures are showing that we're starting off pretty warm at the moment. It is quite a humid air mass that we've got with us. There's a weather front that's coming through the country tomorrow, going to bring quite a wet day and a drop in temperature. And then after that, as we get through to the end of the week, and particularly over the weekend into the start of next week, it's turning quite warm again. This drop in the temperature that you see just here from around the middle of next week onwards, that is the cooler air that we saw on the 500 millibar height anomaly flowchart. So actually, although the GFS and the ECM are disagreeing for the 7 to 10 day time frame, the GFS ensembles have got pretty good agreement on quite a significant cool down taking place through the middle part of next week and then going into the bank holiday weekend. So just indications from the GFS, anyway, not really supported by the ECM this morning, but from the GFS, indications that we are likely to turn things quite a lot cooler indeed as we get through to the second half of next week. Now, as far as rainfall is concerned, we've got wet weather coming up tomorrow. So that's in the north and west today. It'll be moving down across England and Wales tomorrow. If I've been able to bring you the 5-day forecast, I'll have been able to cover that. But fortunately, run out of time to get the 5-day forecast to you with all of the other updates. So that one's had to be shelved for this week. Once that wet weather gets out of the way tomorrow, we're looking at plenty of dry weather through the rest of the week and into the weekend. And then next week, as the temperature drops, it does look like it also turns more showery as well. So potentially, just potentially, it's a little way off, but we are potentially setting up a relatively cool and showery bank holiday weekend, unfortunately. You'll have your second detailed look at the bank holiday weekend this evening. Temperature anomalies are looking like that. We're coming out above average with the temperature anomalies from the next week, 15th to the 23rd of August, so no problems there, staying warmer than average in the next week. Precipitation anomalies, a little bit of a north-south split. England and Wales mostly drier than average. Scotland, Northern Ireland nearer to normal. Possibly for one or two northwestern areas, a little bit above average. Right, so these are the GFS charts then for Saturday. We've got high pressure to our south, ridging in from the Azores. So that's the Azores high down there, of course, from the ridge up to France. We've got low pressure out in the Atlantic, and the jet stream is coming through to the north of the country like that. So a bit of a north-south split over the weekend. Showery in the north, relatively cool. Quite warm and dry down in the south. That continues into Sunday as well. And to the start of next week, no real differences. High pressure remains to our south, so it brings plenty of settled weather to England and Wales. Quite warm, temperature probably mid-20s Celsius. In the north, it is a cooler and more showery scenario for Scotland, and at times for Northern Ireland. And that carries on in towards the middle of next week. This is Wednesday, so this is a week away, as we begin to pull this high pressure out into the central part of the Atlantic. That starts to turn the wind into the northwest. So it takes a little while to get going, but as we go through towards the end of next week, definite signs of cooler air beginning to move in from the northern Atlantic. And as we go into the bank holiday weekend, that's how we look. This is Saturday the 25th of August, when we've got low pressure to our east and high pressure to the west, and the squeeze between the two is pulling down this cool and showery northerly winds. So a pretty chilly start to the bank holiday weekend there, if that is how things play out. And as we go further into the bank holiday weekend, actually we start to revert back to this north-south split type scenario. So not too bad for bank holiday weekend. It's rather cool, particularly for the north, but there's a fair amount of dry weather because the Azores high remains fairly close to the southwest of us. And in the very extended range of the GFS run, this is a 6 o'clock run of the GFS, we do actually re-establish this area of high pressure. So perhaps signs of things settling down and warming up there as we go through to the very end of the month, and that will probably take us into the opening days of September. Very, very often, early September has an area of high pressure sat over the top of the country. I think it's called the Old Wives' Summer. It's one of those singularities that occurs regularly in the weather, that early September, the first week to 10 days of September, tends to have a lot of high pressure going on, and then later on in the month you'll tend to deteriorate the pattern. You'll set up gales often around the equinox, around the 21st of September, but the first week to 10 days tends to have a lot of high pressure. This is how the ECMWF is looking now. We know this is going to be a more settled scenario because we saw it on the height anomaly flow chart. So this is taking us into the early part of next week. We've got this area of high pressure to our south and low pressure up to the north. So bring quite a lot of dry weather. And then into the second half of next week, this is when the GFS wants to start pulling down those cooler northwesterly winds. Look what the ECMWF is doing. Actually builds this high pressure over and to the east of the country and sets up a southeasterly wind. So that's quite a hot weather developing as we run up towards the bank holiday weekend. That's as far as we can go with the ECM. It's day 10, Saturday the 25th of August. High pressure is just to our east, and we're pulling up those very warm, or possibly even quite hot, southeasterly winds. So completely different between the GFS and the ECM by day 10. And then the GEM looking like this. So this is the Canadian model. We have the north-south split over weekend into the start of next week. Quite a bit of high pressure. And then the second half of next week, the GEM is in agreement with the GFS, interestingly. It takes this high pressure out into the Atlantic and starts to pull down these much, much cooler northwesterly winds as we run up to the bank holiday weekend. In fact, as we go into the bank holiday weekend and get to day 10, Saturday the 25th of August, we are actually pulling down a northerly wind there. If you follow the isobars back, look where the air is coming from. It's coming from kind of like up in the North Pole and moving down across the country. Now it's the end of August, so it's not going to be desperately cold, but it will certainly be chilly compared to the weather we've had through most of this summer. Through most of this summer, we've had southerlies and southeasterly winds, which have been very hot, of course. So that is something we haven't had for a very, very, very long time. You probably have to go back to March, I would have thought, for the last time we had a spell of northerly winds. So the GM is actually going further than the GFS in turning things cool for the bank holiday. Finally, we'll just finish off with the charts from the Beijing Climate Centre. So we find that the 500 millibar height anomaly flow chart for the next 10 days, is taking us from the 16th to the 25th of August, has above average heights over the top of the country, with below average heights up to the north. Do bring the jet stream down a little bit, and then it pushes back northwards again. So in the next 10 days, and I agree with this, we have a lot of fine and settled weather going on. This is the next 10 days. This takes us from the 26th of August through to the 4th of September. Above average heights, more centred to the northeast actually, with weaker heights both to the west and to the south. So although the above average heights are there, that could be just a little bit more unsettled due to the fact that the high pressure is generally pushing a little bit towards the northeast of us. Then we go through to the next 10-day period, which is the 5th through to the 14th of September. Again, the suggestion really is that we've got a weak area of above average heights close to the country. So if this is right, have a reasonable amount of dry weather through the first half of September. Certainly not too unsettled. But then the final 10 days is days 31 to 40, so it's a very long way out. But it's taking us from the 15th through to 24th of September. It turns much more unsettled. Below average heights centre almost over the top of the country and out to west. We bring the jet stream down. That's autumn proper getting going in the second half of September. So obviously that's very speculative, and what we can say though is that early September does tend to have quite a lot of high pressure, so it's probably along the right lines with that, and then it tends to deteriorate as the month goes on and turns more unsettled. But of course we'll wait and see about that, because we have got discrepancies even in the week to 10-day time frame. So we know the ECM is quite a hot situation, quite a hot scenario as it goes in up towards the bank holiday weekend, but we also know the GFS and particularly the GEM are turning things much cooler and much more showery through the second half next week. I can tell, I didn't have time to show you it, but I can tell you the ECM was a little bit of a hot outlier as well, so we could well be setting up a rather cool and showery run up to the bank holiday weekend anyway. So that's brought you up to date with everything. And again, sorry for being absent over the past couple of days. And just thanks for your patience, for sticking with it. And we've finally got the videos back to you. Coming up this evening, we're going to have your second updates for the bank holiday weekend. So we'll be looking at the full bank holiday weekend in detail this evening. Should have brought you that on Monday, but wasn't able to. So come back for that if you're interested in what weather may be doing for bank holiday weekend. But otherwise, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.